All right, so I'm going to speed up a little bit for this cast because we're actually casting this one live. And we had just hopped out of a fun game between Xiaohai and, oh, well, Paganini. Now Capture just bugged. This bug has been here for a while. So apologies for just fixing that. But it's the rare live ranked cast. We have a lot of events going on nowadays. I'll be honest with you, event burnout is a very real thing for even me. Hard to get hyped when there's hype all the time, you know, and I need some spacing here or there. So I'm happy to be casting these two. So a bit of background. Both of these are Chinese players. Xiaohai plays a lot of ranked games. Doesn't really play many tournaments or hasn't gone far in many tournaments. And Xiaohai plays a lot of the classic civilizations. So Chinese, Mongols, Huns, those are his most played civilizations, especially the Mongols. But he's been playing Huns over the last month, according to his profile. I Buy Power, he is a player who I've also known of. He, for a while there, was known as Iroha, I-R-O-H-A. But again, these are guys that are around like the top 200-ish, and they go up and down, and they don't play in a ton of tourneys, so you probably wouldn't know them if you're not watching someone cast this level, or if you're not playing at the level. So it's cool to cast these guys for you, because I've played both of them probably dozens of times. More so Xiaohai. Maybe it's too much to say that I played I Buy Power a lot. Anyways, Huns versus the Japanese. This is a blast of the past, man. Like, I had this matchup many, many years ago. And I like it. You know, a lot of the newer civilizations have some crazy bonuses. And, you know, they come at a newer time where Civs, I think, can be a little bit stronger these days. Huns and Japanese are just such well-balanced civilizations that are just good overall throughout the whole game. Instead of having these like massive crazy power spikes or unique techs that really get you out of your seat. And I like that. I think what decides this matchup is how the Japanese utilize their early bonuses with the cheaper lumber camps, mining camps, and whatnot. Their early feudal age can be really devastating. And so playing with a strong Dark Age early feudal age is the way to go with the Japanese. T90, will you do T90 trolls anytime soon? Yeah, it's probably going to be tomorrow. I haven't quite scheduled that out yet. We'll see. So my experience with Xiaohai is that he loves to be defensive. He can go offensive. Don't get me wrong. I see 2 on wood right now, so I think that he is going to go like very fast up. But let me just rephrase that and say he's a player who has extremes about him. Maybe not the most balanced individual. So I actually played him yesterday. I was Franks and he was Huns. And he went full wall into like spearman defense because I was going scouts, which was very smart. And he wanted to get into cav archers, which is tough for the Franks to deal with. I ended up going full feudal with like tons of scouts, went forward with towers, and it was a very messy game. But again, it's like extremes. And I actually remember when he was playing Mongols all the time, he would go fast castle on Arabia. Like he'd try to go fast castle with like no lube, and he would get away with it too. It was really frustrating because like I'd kill a villager or two, and then suddenly he's got a castle making manga die, and I'm still in feudal. So wow, this is a crazy uptime though. 18 population, and is he gonna go forward? Someone in chat just said Xiaohai always forwards with Hunts. No, this is a second lumber camp. I have never experienced the Xiaohai forward, actually. Okay, 5 on wood here. 4 on wood here. So this is just going to be scouts. I personally would never go to lumber camps off 18 pop because I think the barracks and the stable gets delayed, but here's Xiaohai scouting. His opponent's going to gold, so alarm bells should be going off in his head that his opponent's going to be going man-at-arms. But red is not actually queued. Okay, there's the first militia now. The red is scouted the wood line, is scouted the berries. There's the barracks for Xiaohai. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I like to lumber camp with scout builds. And I guess the stable's not going to be that late. But off this population, I would probably stay on 1. Because now you've gone up to feudal age. And you can't even make the stable yet. You might as well have just gone up on 19 population and had 1 more villager working this whole time. And he's going for a range. Dang. Okay. So he didn't scout the barracks, but he must be expecting some funky business here. I remember you cannot house wall with the Huns. So if like the going gets rough in the last second situation, it's a bit harder to defend yourself. Holy walls here for red. But honestly, I mean, this is going to be quite good because his opponent won't have scouts. Also, this scout has not found this. Like, honestly, like, obviously I've moved up through the ranks from, like, the biggest noob back in the HD days to being at, like, 2K2 now. This is something... So I play Xiaohai a lot, as I stated. This is the type of thing that people at this level still need to improve on. Like, you should never be surprised by this. Now, he has the skills to be able to maybe save this villager and deal with it. And that's smart from him. He's like, here, hit my scout, hit my scout, hit my scout, hit my scout, hit my scout. And he actually sacrifices... Wow, that was so good. Sacrifices the scout, saves the villager, and now gets some quick walls down. But definitely just a scouting issue there for Xiaohai. But should be able to defend from this with some repairs. The blacksmith will need to be placed somewhere else. And behind this, we actually don't have any follow-up archery ranges at all from red. Red's simply just going for walls. And red's eco is also a little bit imbalanced here, right? Like some TC idle time. Now we'll see the archers, and we'll probably feel a little disappointed. I think when you do this and you're walling like red is, you're actually hoping your opponent goes scouts. Because archers are better against walls than scouts are. Okay. Xiaohai, a little sloppy here. Japanese man-at-arms. That archer could easily go down here. But red ends up running away. And we'll see what this game turns into. Now, again, red doesn't have a scout. So there's a lot of wood now for red. Red's likely going to add a range. Should be well-timed just to defend. Interesting placement on the range. Sometimes I like to hide it so my opponent can't see it. They're going to assume it with Japanese, but still, you could hide it if you wish to. And now it's just some walls and some macro from here, as we will likely see this play out into Castle Age. Huns start to feel very smooth at this point. And Xiaohai, oh god, oh man, man-at-arms killing 2 archers. Red's living the absolute dream now. I also love that too. Like, pulls the weak one away, sends that strong one forward. That was the spearman here as a distraction. The spearman was likely added when red wasn't sure what his opponent was going for. Also, it's a floss. Okay, range and blacksmith. So I'm going to give you guys a tip. How many people have to do what red just did there and hate how you almost delete your archery range? Anybody? It's just me? I hope it's not just me. So I have, you know, a couple times in my career placed buildings like this and then wanted to delete the walls. And then I've accidentally clicked the building and deleted the building that I needed. So if you have a wall there, the best way to do it is place a gate foundation. And then you just delete the gate foundation because it's much easier to click the gate foundation. So you get your resources back, but it deletes the walls. So it's awesome. And it's just a lot more satisfying. Just a lot easier for me anyways. Anyway, Xiaohai's probably sitting here like, where is this guy? But to me, it seems like he knows his opponent's not doing much. He's still not really scouting all that well. Like, he really should be checking to see what his opponent's making right now. But again, you've got, like, at this level, you've got a lot of really talented players who don't do some of the small basics that, like, the tippity top do, you know? Red, of course, like, if I'm in red's position, and I see my opponent doesn't have fletching, I would send my army out. And there's Xiaohai with the scout, now sees the range, and now Xiaohai might say, maybe I need more army. But it's tough when your opponent's walled and you haven't scouted because you don't know how much is in there, so this will be a race to Castle Age. Now, the longer this game goes, the more I like the Huns. Like, I feel like the Hun Castle Age is just a lot more fluid. But if it gets to heavy crossbow and pikeman numbers, it can be difficult for the Huns to deal with. Xiaohai is going to add a market now, as you see players do a lot of these days. Might consider selling the stone and buying some food if there's any concern of being up later to the next stage. Honestly, Xiaohai's eco is insane to go up to the next stage with army production, but might still be worried that the opponent will up faster here. God, my hair's not cooperating with me today, and it keeps tickling my forehead. I'm trying to, like, get it out of the way, man. Yeah, let's see. 2 ranges from Red. Red's eco's very smooth here. Very impressed with everything that those Man-at-Arms accomplished, even though there was no kills involved. Well, I guess no villager kills involved. And just like that, 2 ranges to produce archers on the way up. It'll be a mix of archers and skirms. Xiaohai's up at the same time, but Xiaohai had to sell the stone. As Xiaohai's scout saw there was 2 ranges, I would be freaking out right now that my opponent would be sending that army forward. And that army might be moving forward any moment now. Decisions next, if you're both going into range units, will be, are you going to go siege? Or are you going to go for ballistics? I think in Xiaohai's position, he should go siege because he's not going to have the numbers, but he doesn't necessarily know that. He does see the 2 ranges now, confirms the army's still there, which is always good. You could always squeak out the second town center faster as well. Again, it's all decisions, and they all could have some benefit. It just depends on the execution of it. Speaking of your hair, T90, you haven't done face cam in a while. So listen to this. This is the dumbest thing ever. So I have, as I've said before, I have the 2 PC setup. And so whatever you're seeing right now, Scout goes down. Here comes Red. That's a big army. Whatever you're seeing here, that's being recorded is on another PC than what's recording it, right? So there's what's called a capture card. It's capturing whatever I'm doing here. It's how we set it up a while back. The capture card has been buggy, like super buggy for the last 6 months. And we're going to rework it and change the system. Basically, when we set it up, capture card was the way to go. These days, not really the way to go. And the bugs we encounter can be avoided. Hold on. I'm going to hold off on the story time for a second because the crossbows are on the way. We do have elite skirmisher in here for Xiaohai. Xiaohai has a total of 8 skirmishers. 8 skirmishers should be enough to push back 10 crossbows, but elite skirm does take a little bit longer, and it is also way more expensive. Xiaohai is going to pop out of the range, and there it is, and no ballistics here for Red. And the skirms are going to run in fearlessly and go in for these crossbows now. Now, they don't have Castle Age armor, which does mean that they're going to take more damage. This is why skirm plays difficult. It's much more expensive. It takes twice as long as crossbowmen. There's a reason the devs are going to increase the price of crossbowmen finally. I've been asking for that for like 3 years. They're just going to buff, nerf crossbow play a little bit more in an upcoming patch, or so I've heard. Because again, you need the armor upgrades, you need all those things. So Red was still able to take a reasonable trade. And Red's able to fall back now, and Red's going to go into middle siege. Stone has been repurchased now by Xiaohai, who's dropping the second town center. Xiaohai really should be trying to chase down those crossbows. And anyways, so I have my capture card working at a point where it's stable. It's still, there's some weird quirks, but it's annoying. 2 weeks ago, I tried to set up my camera within OBS because I have like a new light and everything looks really good. And it broke my capture card, man. Like my capture card started to like capture other things, and it's just so unbelievably annoying. So back to, you know, the reason I brought this up is because you just said, where's face cam? You said you're going to do it more. I wanted to do it more, and since then I've disconnected the camera because it was giving me such issues with streaming. Obviously, if I had to choose between having a camera that worked and not streaming and having a camera that doesn't work and streaming, I would choose to be able to stream. But yeah, it's annoying. So I will probably get around to tinkering with it a bit more before we rework the system because I would like to use it if I have the setup. But wow, interesting little counterattack here from Xiaohai. He just ran right past the middle siege. Ran right past it. He knew it was there. He said, screw it. I don't, who cares? And that's an annoying thing for Red to encounter because he's gone middle siege to control the map. And now he says, well, this is smart thinking from Red too. Red figures, I've already taken damage from this. So what I don't want to do is react. So let's go forward now. And it's dropping some gates. Probably will have some siege coming home. That's smart. So it's now applying pressure to Xiaohai's gold. And this is a really nice game. It was a correct decision and a great risk there from Xiaohai to try and run through like this. In fact, Xiaohai could continue to be a nerd and run through. But it was also an awesome move from Red to try and go forward. The problem is that Red still has work to do. And now that defensive siege from Xiaohai was able to get the defense. Man, if Xiaohai only knew how much damage those skirms could have done and how annoying they would have been had they run in, I think he would have done so, but obviously didn't know. Skirmisher still getting some value in the middle of the map. Good Mangonel micro, and now the TC will complete. Also, the skirms from Red idled a bunch of vills over here on the woodline. They're just sitting there. And the Xiaohai's got to fix that. So, TC being on stone is very... that's a conscious decision to eventually build up towards a castle. We've got 16 on food versus 18 on food. Overall, the eco balance is pretty similar. Eco upgrades are also fairly similar. So, Xiaohai's late game Castle Age eco will probably look a little bit better due to having the farm upgrade in rather early. Xiaohai still has the skirm army and really wants to micro and do something with it, but this position is just very awkward. And it's not so easy. A lot of people are going to say, why not add knights? Well, if your opponent has crossbowmen, knights aren't going to work too well unless you have a lot of upgrades. So if anyone was going to add knights, as we see Red go for a shot, and, oh, good micro. Really good micro. It gets the kill. If anyone was going to add knights, it would actually be Red in a moment because there's skirms out there. Now again, like, Red's got to react, and let's see. Red's got 3 Mangonels in the same spot, and boom, Xiaohai gets one of them. Micro's back. We'll fire on that one. Beautiful fadeaway shot. Micros again. And man, siege has been the key in this game. Split micro from iBuyPower. There's no repair villager here, so it is doable to take out. But the attack round was expecting the micro. Still didn't get the kills, though. This is a great game. This is a really, really interesting one. And they have to execute with their economies as well. Red now showing again how difficult it is to defend from this army and also micro on the front. So I'm still waiting to see if we're going to see a change in unit types. I could definitely see how both players might be considering it. Oh my god, another sick attack round there. Man, their siege micro has just been back and forth, back and forth. But yeah, man, like, I would so badly want to send siege home for this right now if I'm Red. I understand why he wants to continue to push forward. He's attacking these guys TC and really putting them under pressure still. But, like, this has made it so your forward economy... sorry, your forward focus is less than you would want it to be. There's the shot. Xiaohai probably focusing on home. You could tell, look, added the farms, added the stable. Got rocked on the front. Castle could be in iBuyPower's near future. Xiaohai with another shot there. As I mentioned, I don't think the Night Switch will actually be a great decision right now for Xiaohai. Unless he has lots of upgrades, because there's crossbowmen out. But he is aiming to get +2 armor here. And he might just want just enough to take care of the siege. It would have made sense to try and go for the stable with the Japanese. But a reason against that, as we might see villagers YOLO forward here in a second. An argument against that is the Japanese have pretty weak knights long term. So a lot of players don't want to work with knights for that reason. No, all that said, it's not like Red is continuing to make a lot of crossbowmen. And the Hun stables do produce pretty quickly. And Red's about to get housed, right? Like, Japanese, you still have to make houses. You still have to focus a little bit more on that. Huns don't have to. Huns start to feel real strong. And Red, I'm not even sure about that castle spot. But Xiaohai just waits until +2 armor's in and now engages. There are some monks that could be coming out, but oh man, the skirmishers are dodging the mangonels. They go for the crossbows. The Night Flood will take the siege. And now look at this castle spot. Red's worried. And yeah, all this is going to be cleared. So I guess, you know, in theory, right, the knights should be a little bit worse, but still knights. Still weren't that many crossbows for Red. Red has 97 villagers versus 81, so a big eco lead, but Xiaohai will be able to take the map control now. And Red's going to fall back and maybe has to think about some other type of unit here. All right. Good game. Really good game. It's just like a pure execution game. But different army compositions at different times, different bonuses at use. Good flow to both players' economies. 4th TC now for Xiaohai. Absolutely love that decision. And more crossbowmen are going to be massed. We actually have another monastery for Red, who must be concerned that these relics are going to be lost. And actually, this monk might be able to make it to, I guess, the new monastery. And wow, they both click up to Imp at the same time. This is sick. Also, there's extra gold back here that Red could get. Can you imagine if Red can drop another castle here, another castle here? I mean, oh, there'd be so many resources. Finding this gold in the back, actually, is a big deal because Blue has not scouted that, and Blue's going to see these golds as an area of focus. There is a monk inside of this monastery. I want to believe that Red is actually going to pop that monk out and try and convert something. Red obviously dropping the barracks, as you would expect. Another monastery? All right, I think he's forgetting that he already has one. And look at Xiaohai. Xiaohai's like, thank you very much. Is a Tarkin switch worth it, or does Samurai just stomp them? I don't think a Tarkin switch is worth it, no. And it's not that Tarkins are bad, but your opponent's likely going to switch into Pikemen anyways here. And the Marauders upgrade, even though it's not the most expensive unique tech ever, you're just investing resources into creating Tarkins out of your stables when you can instead just spend all your resources on more knights. T90, sorry for asking. I'm sure you've shared, but I guess I missed it. What's your plan for Silver League as far as when it's going to happen? Nothing confirmed, but likely will be December-ish. Sorry, I missed that question earlier. Yeah, the composition I talked about earlier is Pikemen Arbalest, because Huns skirmishers are actually quite weak. Also, this is not a bad fight to be taking right now, if you're if you're iBuy Power. Still missing a lot of upgrades, don't get me wrong, but in terms of the long-term play style, I think the forward castle pushing up the middle style is what you would want to achieve if you're Japanese, because they struggle so much with mobility. So like I mentioned a castle here, that might be a castle if the roles are reversed and you're Huns. Huns should go for the defensive castles everywhere and try and expand over the map. Japanese should probably go for the kill. We have Halberdier coming in, and Xiaohai did just notice that his opponent had pikemen, so should expect the Halberdier choice. And so I think, like, I love the way he's playing this, because he's maxing out. He's going to go Cavalier. I guess he's not maxing out because he won't have Paladin. But he created all these knights. He wants to get more value from them. Getting Cavalier and getting armor, but also prepping the ranges to switch into Cav Archers. And trying to use that mobility. Meanwhile, Red has the first Trebuchet. Xiaohai still getting those upgrades, but just the small things that Red has done here is so wise. Like town centering the gold, so the villagers are protected. House walling ahead of time, so this is protected. And now the castle spot's absolutely perfect. We have Xiaohai going for conscription, which will lead to faster production of units. Xiaohai really needs to get the Cav Archers out, and that's going to take some time yet. Great recognition from Xiaohai, though. Yes, Japanese Halbs wreck these Cavalier, but not if the Cavalier run away. But the army production from Red is beautiful. We have more production buildings going up. And there goes Xiaohai running home now. And I think Xiaohai's like a couple steps behind here. Chooses to take this fight because not all the Halberdiers split up. That has to be an intentional fight. That's probably the best possible fight you're going to get against Halbs. Also tried to run in here with the Cavalier at the same time, but didn't expect there to be that many Halbs just yet. And so is not able to take those Trebuchets. Well played, Red, who just continues to focus on Halbs. Now, this is the crazy thing. Like, if Red didn't have that gold in the south, Red would be having some big gold issues. Great fight for Red. Red's going to clear this. This gold was a massive find. And if Xiaohai would have switched sides, like if Xiaohai would have raided here, Red would have had big issues. So the units, and I think the choices for Xiaohai was correct, but he just wasn't able to find the right areas. Red had wisely locked down that side, and now the Cav Archers will be the focus. 14 Cav Archers on the way, 10 already out, but there's 39 Halbs. And I know it seems like a possible throw, but I would love to see Red just drop the next castle here right now. Because you have enough Halbs to where the Cav Archers have to run. That's the problem with the Cav Archers. They have to fall back. I'd love to see him just dive in with everything. But maybe, as I say that, suddenly the Halbs are getting picked off. Now, more and more, I'm thinking the Trebs are being forgotten about. I also have to sneeze massively. Apparently, I'm allergic to good Age of Empires games. What a tragic condition that would actually be. Heavy Cav Archers now in. It's 160 population versus 170 population. And it's beginning to look like Red can't progress in any further with his army composition. So, great defense, obviously, from Red. But can Japanese push this? This is where Huns start to feel very strong for me. That's why I said if there was a moment, you got to go for that next castle and really go for the kill. Because it's now reached a point where Red definitely has to get a tech switch in. Now, it does have crossbow numbers. Is getting Arbalest now. And that's going to be the long-term choice. Red also is going to save most of the trebuchets. You can see an archer here is just scouting. It's a leftover archer scouting the rest of the map. It seems like it's a small thing, but look at the vision from Xiaohai. The only thing Xiaohai is probably thinking is, where are the 3-tile golds at? Actually, where are they? So there's one here, and Xiaohai must assume that there's one in the corners. Oh, and where's Xiaohai gonna go? Look, Red's like, oh god, I'm gonna get raided on the right. I've got 2 golds over here. We have to castle this now. And now Xiaohai's over here, and I think Red sees it. Red's like, And now the villagers, they've heard from the local carrier pigeon that this is happening, and they're going to run far away to the corner. And I'd love to see Xiaohai switch sides. Now, look at Red. Red says, okay, you want to raid me? Cool. I'm going to go, and I'm going to start trebbing down your stuff. And he actually has kept a decent number of Arbalest here as well. So he might actually defend his trebuchets. I don't think he'll lose more than one. So blue will start to lose this TC and maybe this castle. Meanwhile, Hussars are in, though. And, man, are these Cav Archers going to be tough to deal with. But Red still has some okay castle spots and could hop into the TCs here. And Red continues this push. Red really needs to repair that Treb. It's on 2 HP right now. And now the Cav Archers are in. Oh, this is so awkward. I mean, both players are taking some big losses, right? Red, something that's impressed me is he hasn't like ever fully abandoned his Trebs. It's like always in his mind that he needs to continue to push as he deals with whatever raids come in. As Xiaohai's Cav Archers are probably going to be here for a while, but Xiaohai is slowly getting pushed, like I said, on the front. We have more Hussars and we have more Cav Archers on the way right now for Xiaohai. What a sick game, man. I love this stuff. Also love the civilizations we're seeing. Maybe it shows that I'm, you know, an old fart if I still appreciate the Huns and the Japanese, but it's a fun matchup. And something I mentioned earlier, it can be really difficult for the Huns to counter this type of composition because their skirmishers are not the best. But also, Hun trebuchets have additional accuracy, so Xiaohai defends with his own trebs like it's nothing. The Cav Archer's still running around. We will have elite skirmisher now for Red. Slowly whittling down these Cav Archers. But Xiaohai's now trying to push with his own trebuchets. Xiaohai's economy has been stronger in terms of resources coming in, has had a lot more food. The mobility and the potential for the Huns, I think, is a little bit greater. And now it's reached a point where Red has cleared up a raid, but is no longer pushing. And the heavy Cav Archers combined with the Hussars are about to steamroll this hill. I think Japanese need to have 50-60 military at all times, and it needs to all be in one spot. It will hurt to lose that castle. By the way, I had someone ask me recently, T90, why are high-level players saving stone? And my response was, well, stone is a finite resource. It's not like gold, where if you have relics, you can get that, or sell off some wooden food to get some extra gold at times. So players will save stone for crucial positions on the map. And so I think right now, as we see a bit of a Treb war here, I think in Blue's mind, Blue's thinking, if I take this hill and I drop a castle on it, that could end the game. That's why we're not seeing it. But, oh, man, sad times for Red. Red's got army in spots where they shouldn't be right now. And just because of the raids, you know. And here comes the villagers. Precisely what I just mentioned, right? Has had that stone for a while, but now snipes the trebuchets, clears up the army, and now imagine the potential with these trebuchets once the castle's up next to it. This could be GG territory. Blue's population is at 200. And a fun game here, guys. A really fun game to watch. Lots of things to break down and analyze, but I just think that tech switch from Xiaohai into Cav Archers hit at the perfect time. And even though the raid didn't win him the game, right? He didn't even kill the gold villagers when he raided the left side. It allowed him to be a little more comfortable in whatever decisions he made at home. Just a great game that shows the potential of, well, the game, but also the civilizations. And now you see Xiaohai, one Cav Archer sitting on the gold. What a sick player, man. I'm a bit of a Xiaohai fanboy because I played him so much, and there's a few players I really enjoy to chat with. He doesn't really understand English, but I just have so much fun chatting in broken English to him every time I play him. Pretty much he just taunts me back and forth, but the guy played him this week. I said, why no Mongols? And he just said, I'm being rushed with the taunt, and just laughed. But yeah, he's really had good flow here and really made the Huns look strong. Now the Hussar raids are starting to run in, and yeah, you can get some Japanese halberdiers over there to deal with that. But how do you deal with having lost this hill? You also can't freely treb up the hill against this many trebs because, like I said, the Hun trebuchets have the greater accuracy. So that treb should go down. You can tell Red's going to try and repair it, but you're just stuck. Because now we have Siege Ram coming in. The Siege Ram will start to mop up these buildings as well, and I don't think it's going to take too long for Xiaohai to shift over here to this castle with the trebs. I wonder if we saw the elo difference in this game. It's funny to say that when there's only like I think it's actually a 60 or 70 elo difference. Maybe with some micro aspects, maybe Xiaohai just a teensy bit faster, but overall I think it was a really close game. Red could have had more relics. Remember, Red wasn't expecting to lose the middle so freely and ended up losing relics that ended up at Xiaohai's base. That was disappointing. Has had great awareness with extra resources, but now, you know, we're dropping another castle here. Hussar is going to start to raid that open side. And skirms are just not a killer unit. Japanese, they just don't get much better than this. Yeah, they can get samurai. Okay, I think that was a misclick. He just started attacking the castle. Yeah, samurai really don't give much of an answer to this type of composition. Samurai are fantastic when it's full melee from the enemy, right? Or like a combination, I guess, in theory, of samurai with some other things might be it. And, we're not going to have castles, and you can tell the game's speeding up, so that should mean this game is over. But Red resigns at 160 population. It's not like the army was there or wasn't there, but you're just so exposed to raids, right? Like, this game continues. Let's say Blue doesn't even have this castle. If you're not pushing constantly with Japanese, you're just going to have Hussars and Cav Archers looping around into your eco all the time. Yeah, that was a really good game. Should be a better eco here for Xiaohai. I think, like, throughout the Imperial Age, Xiaohai also had more villagers, like by maybe 15 or 20. And so had more wood, had more food, had more everything in the end, but it was a very close game. Again, I think the key moment in this game, and I wish I had a bit of a heat map, but I think the key moment in this game was when Red had built his original castle. Like, let me try and remember where that was. So a bit later. Okay, so this castle's perfect. His opening's perfect. Now he's starting, and this is where it gets tricky, right? Now you have to start to chase. But what you want to do here is you want to build up your trebs, take out this castle, and then after you take out that castle, you want your next castle, you want all this pressure immediately on their face. Because they have no way to make siege for that. So I remember I mentioned it. Now, truthfully, he might have thrown the game because Xiaohai had so many Cav Archers. But there was a point, like maybe like right here. Okay, this moment. 55 military versus 23. if there were 20 villagers running forward and all the halves are there, your castle goes up. It's right in the midst of Blue's eco, and Blue would have to scramble up a castle super defensively to eventually trap that down. The Cav Archers are going to be threatened by the castle fire, and it gives you a bit more time to push. But it is so much easier to play as the Huns because you don't have that pressure. You could just fall back a little bit and expand to the sides. So I guess I don't know if this helps anyone out there, but I really do think that that was the key moment in the game. Needed to go for the castle there. And then Arbalest Halb definitely has its window. Also, I mean, small things. Xiaohai with 3 monks converting 3 separate halbs. That's like not easy to do while you're doing everything else. Also, the Cav Archer upgrades were flying in. Heavy Cav Archer came in much faster than I would have ever researched it. How he was able to afford that after everything else is insane. So I think, you know, I don't want to take anything away from Xiaohai here. He played a good game. And I hope people enjoyed watching a game that maybe wasn't the same faces that you tend to see. I have a deep, deep passion for the guys who are amongst the top couple hundred who deserve more recognition. And yeah, back to my theory that I stated in that game, it looks like they had similar speed. So I think it just is easier to seem a little bit faster when you're the Huns, because it's a bit easier to get the production rolling and a bit easier to move around the map.